layout process video for you today. I have this cute picture of my little boy and this adorable paper as well, which is from AB Studios and it's by Tandy Art. And I'm just trimming down my photo and now I'm going to add some paper texture paste in the background. This stuff's great because you can actually colour over the top of it and it will take on the colour rather than resist it like some texture paste do. And it's really easy to apply as well. I find this great to work with. So first off, I've just added some using that cute stencil, also by Tandy Art, and I'm also just smudging on a little bit around the edges, blending out some of the edges to it. And I do all this and then I end up covering it, but I just add some more later on anyway, so it's no big deal. So whilst that dries, I'm now taking out the stamps and I'm going to fussy cut out some of these and add them onto the layout as well. As you can see, all you do is when you first get them, just peel off this backing and it becomes a cling stamp. But these are not like the clear ones, they're like really high quality, really beautifully etched ones. They do really wonderful images. They are quite expensive, but they're higher quality, so I definitely think they're worthwhile. Because I have two boys as well, and these are boy ones, so I know that I'll get the use out of them, and they are adorable images on them as well. So I'm just using my stamp press to stamp them out because I'm not very good at stamping, so I like to be able to go over the top of the image again and fix it if I've missed any. And now I've got my watercolours from Little Rainbow Moon and I'm just adding some paint to each of the images, and I've got my drying pattern paper underneath so that I can kind of reference it a little bit as far as what colours I'm going to use. These paints are wonderful and shimmery and from a lovely little shop called Little Rainbow Moon, and they're handmade watercolours. Everything else is from Paper, Pen and Plan, and I am on Claire's creative team, so if you do spot anything that you like in the video, there is a discount code that you can use in the shop, and I will of course link all of that below. I'm just adding here a little hint of pink, a little hint of blue, but they're really toned down colours because obviously the background's quite a toned down neutral coloured papers, so I didn't want these to stand out. I want them to kind of sit nicely in with the rest of the layout and look similar in colour to the rest of it. I do go back in later on and add some other colours as well to just make them a little more vibrant. Once I've done that, I just fussy cut them all out, which I won't make you watch, just this bit, and ta-da, they're all done. And then I'll choose some to add to my layout later. I'm also wanting to use this really cute little bear here and baby bear, so I also fussy cut this out. I keep some of the scribble lines underneath as well as like a base for it to sit on, if that makes sense. It might not, I don't know. So I fussy cut around this, and then again later on I add some more colour to it just to get my layout looking cohesive. And I think I'm pretty much done for all the prep work now, and my background is dry, so I'm going to work on my paper layers. I just choose to add one paper behind it, mostly because I don't want to waste any of it on paper layers, because these papers are gorgeous. I do have a whole video. I've got more rainbowy ones as well by the same artist, so if you want to check that out, I will link that as well if you want to have a close look at these papers. And I also got the chipboards, again by the same artist, so everything just works perfectly together. And I decided to use 3 on my layout. As you can see, I'm just laying things down where I think I might put them. I move things slightly, but nothing major. Now I'm prepping the chipboard. You could just leave it, to be fair, and it'll look nice just as is. But I've decided to add a layer of gesso so that I can add colour on top of it. And now I'm adding some texture to my background. I love to use gauze or cheesecloth, depending where you're from, what you call it. I love using this on layouts just to add a bit of texture. So I add some to my photo cluster, and I also add some here and there dotted around the layout later on as well. And to glue this down, at the moment I am using a tape runner, but I do also use some gel medium, which is brilliant for sticking anything to anything. I use the matte one by Prima and it's wonderful. I think I'm on my third jar of it now. I just use it for most things because it dries clear, but it dries matte, so you don't get that shiny residue you can get from some adhesives. So again, I've just placed it all back on there, deciding this time where I want to add some texture paste for added interest. And because most of it's covered, I wanted to add it around the edge as well. So you can see those wonderful little, cute little, I think they're like a bit like rainbows. I also add the cute sketchy mini hearts as well. And these stencils, they're quite small, but the actual images are tiny on them, so you can just build it up without feeling like you're getting too much of an edge around the stencil, like you can do with larger images, I feel, on stencils. I'm also blending some of it out using the silicone brush just to smudge out those edges and just for added interest as well. I'd forgotten to take off the branding strip, so I've done that now before it becomes more difficult to do. And I'm also just trimming out this cute little phrase that was actually on the branding strip to use that as well. I'm now dry brushing on some gesso. I don't want to put too much on, I just want a thin layer, partly to mute down the pattern paper so that only bits of it are popping through, and partly just to prep the surface so that I can add some more colour to the background later. And here's my handy dandy gel medium. I'm just applying it with a spatula, and because there's texture paste underneath and the foam to pop up the photograph, it just bonds really well to texture paste. So you find quite often that tape doesn't stick too well to texture paste, but this stuff works a treat. And I've also used that to stick down my chipboard pieces, and now I'm going to start colouring all around the edge of the page, adding hints of colour here and there. I'm using Prima pastels to do this, and I've chosen some quite muted tones, but they are a little brighter than the background, but I do tone them down slightly, but I also bring some colour out from the background, if that makes sense, so it all works well together. These pastels work wonderfully because as you scribble them down, they don't leave that kind of scribble line you can get from, like I find with gelatos, quite often you can still see the line. I might be just too heavy-handed, but I do find these work wonderfully. They just smudge out beautifully when you add the water to it, and it's pretty much just, it works itself. It doesn't require much effort really. And as you can see, I'm just adding splashes of colour here, there and everywhere, but I do go in, it looks quite bright now, I do go in and add white and I add brown to tone it down slightly, because the yellow was actually a lot brighter than I thought it would be. But I've not actually swatched any of these, so always swatch your colours and then you won't have any surprises. So as you can see, I've kept the whole process in because I didn't want to just cut this bit out, so I've just sped it up loads. And now I'm just adding white pastel on top, but this time I'm not using water because I don't want it to blend. I just want it to sort of sit on top and smudge out some of the colour to create a bit of a two-tone effect. And now I'm adding some more of my paper paste. I'm smoothing it over the top of the chipboard pieces to create a bit of a like as if they've been made out of stone rather than wood, if that makes sense. Kind of like that, I guess. And I'm also smoothing it down so that it bonds the wood to the paper so that it looks like it's stuck down using like cement or something, or plaster. So I just add a touch on top of the wood and then smooth it, turning the page around, smoothing it down from the edges onto the paper in a few spots, not completely. I don't want to completely do that on all of them. I just want hints of it here and there, just for added interest really. No particular reason for it, just going with the flow. And once I've added all that, I believe I let this dry. Not sure, so much going on. So here's a bit of a close-up so you can see where it's just added some beautiful texture on top of the chipboard. Now I'm adding some white acrylic paint splashes here and there. I like to use white acrylic because it stays bold. The colour doesn't sort of fade or mix with everything else. It sits on top and dries really nice bright white. And now I'm coming back in to add some more texture, so I'm just adding hints of that cheesecloth here and there, just pieces around, mostly around the chipboard. Now I'm adding my stamped images over the top, and I will then go back in and add some extra colour to those as well. That little kind of a subtitle, I guess you call it, at the top there. And as you can see now, I'm going back in. I've sped it up lots faster again so that I can leave the whole thing in without it being a really long video. And I'm adding some more colour to my background. As you can see, I've brought in a brown colour now. That's so that I can get the background to match in with the bear and the chipboard pieces as well. So I'm just adding hints of it over the top of the white, over the top of the yellow in general, because as I said, I felt like the yellow was a little too bold and it needed toning down slightly. And I'm not completely painting anything with any of the colours. I'm just scribbling on little bits of the pastel, then blending it out with the wet paintbrush and just leaving lots of gaps in between. So it's just little hints of colour all over the layout. I'm also making sure that I add some colour around the photo as well, so that there's colour seeping into the cheesecloth, because it gives a really nice texture and makes it sort of shrink up a bit and just looks really interesting. And as you can see now, because my stamped images were really faded looking against that against the teddy bear fussy cut image, I'm now going in and adding a little more colour to my stamped images. I also add those cute little hearts there from inside the cloud, and I just add some of the yellow. Again, that's to kind of tie the yellow in the background into the sort of embellishment side of things. And I just keep going and adding more colour and building it up gradually until I feel it's bold enough that it matches in well with the background. I do apologise if you can hear my little boy, my baby in the background, shouting its head off. I don't know if it'll cut it out or not with the settings. And now I've just come in with some black pastel to add a bit of a shadow underneath some of it to help all these three-dimensional pieces pop off the page. And I did also add a little bit of Posca pen on top of my stamped images as well, just to brighten them up a bit. And I add a final splash of white acrylic paint and I'm done. So thanks for joining me, especially if you managed to make it all the way to the end. This is quite a long video, and I do hope that you've enjoyed it today. If you did, then please give me a thumbs up, and if you've only just found me and you did enjoy the video, then please consider subscribing as well. As I said, this is a creative team project for Paper, Pen and Plan, and so of course I will have links to Claire's shop and Facebook group below, as well as my discount code in case you want to go and check out all the goodies over in her Etsy store. So again, thank you for joining me. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.